ABC is dealing with some serious challenges right now, and Disney has major issues of its own, with many people wondering how certain shows and decisions are still holding together, especially as everything seems tied to one key figure, Bob Iger. But that chapter is coming to an end because Iger is preparing to leave Disney, and according to a Wall Street Journal exclusive reported on Friday, he plans to step down as CEO before the end of 2026. After quietly sharing the news with a few individuals ahead of time. I've interviewed Bob Iger many times over the years, and the topic of leadership transition was always treated carefully, with people often avoiding direct talk about succession plans. I haven't spoken with him recently, though, and honestly, that's probably fine. I've become a bit of an outsider in that world now. And in a strange way, it's actually more refreshing because watching everything unfold from this side is a lot more interesting. Whenever I had Bob Iger on my Bloomberg show or even back on Fox Business, he never liked being questioned about stepping away, and retirement was always a topic he handled cautiously, almost like he didn't want to face it directly. But now it seems he's finally having those conversations, especially with Disney's board expected to vote on a new CEO this week. There's even a report suggesting he may hand over control to the executive currently running the parks, which is interesting because the parks division has been performing strongly, while the entertainment side clearly hasn't been doing as well. We've seen the fallout from poor creative decisions, including major leadership changes, like the departure of the woman overseeing Star Wars, who was given a polished goodbye. Bob publicly praised her, and you can't help but wonder if he's hoping for the same kind of farewell. With the company struggling to break through its own problems, the signs have been building for a while, and the market is reacting too. The stock dropped another 7.4% today, closing around $104.45, far below where it once stood when it was trading above $200. It's been a rough stretch for Disney overall, and while some may see his exit as overdue, others, including certain outspoken figures, don't seem too thrilled about what comes next.
I'm not sure. 25th Amendment. Right, it's time. 25th Amendment is time. It's time. To that point, you would be in a lot of company. You believe at this point that the President of the United States may not have his full faculty? I felt that before now. Yeah, but there's cherry on the cake. We'll get there. Well, no, there's been a lot of cherries on the cake. There have been several. The cherries on this cake are enormous. Yeah. There are so many. There are the lines in the sand. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a stamp. There's so many lines.
It really does seem possible that they're on their way out, because when you look at everything happening with the FCC and the fact that their strongest supporter, Bob Iger, won't be around much longer, it's hard to see what their future looks like. Disney tried to reassure everyone during a call this afternoon, saying things will be fine and that they'll have a plan to replace Iger by the first quarter, with rumors swirling that the executive running the parks could end up taking over. And yes, Disney's results are being revealed tomorrow, with claims that a turnaround has been happening over the last 3 years, though if you're judging by the stock price alone, it hasn't exactly looked smooth. A lot of this seems tied to deeper problems inside Disney itself: cultural decline, a lack of fresh creativity, and an endless reliance on sequels that just keep piling up until audiences finally lose interest. You can't keep repeating the same formula and expect everyone to stay engaged, especially when it starts alienating huge parts of the country. That's why many feel it's time for Iger to step aside and for someone new to come in and change the atmosphere. And now with Iger leaving, the protection around The View seems to be fading too, leaving them uncertain about what happens next without Disney's CEO in their corner. That fear may explain some of the strange comparisons they've been making lately, like bringing up Don Lemon's legal troubles in an oddly dramatic way, because they're not just losing their boss, they're losing the person they believe was shielding them. So yes, they're nervous, and it shows.
Well, listen, this is what I said to you before. You see what's happening. You know what's happening. If it's happening like this, for someone who is out and clearly doing his job, what do you think will happen to us? Right. So it's important to recognize what we are voting for now. It's not a conversation. It's not a thing. Now it's like, okay, we all got to stick together with all of this because it's affecting all of us from A to Z.
It could definitely connect back to two major problems: ratings and FCC pressure, Remember when Brennan Carr, the president's FCC chairman, started looking into ABC and Disney? That kind of investigation could easily extend to The View since the show is produced under ABC News. And yes, the First Amendment still exists no matter what some people seem to believe, but broadcast networks operate under slightly different expectations because of the 1934 Communications Act, which requires them to provide some level of public service. So the question becomes, does anyone honestly think The View offers real public benefit? And beyond that, is anyone even watching anymore? Some would argue the only service it provides is being something people laugh at. But even that appeal seems to be fading. The audience reaction has clearly shifted, and people online have become openly critical, with comments suggesting the show could be in real trouble. That's why management changes may be unavoidable. You can see similar shakeups happening elsewhere, like at CBS, where leadership is reportedly pushing for a reset, basically saying we either fix this now or we're going down. On top of everything, the financial side matters too. The View is extremely expensive to produce, with high salaries for major hosts like Whoopi and Joy, plus the cost of keeping the show looking lively.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I was speaking with Terrence Woodbury, and for those of you who don't know him from Hit Strategies, he's a terrific strategy person. And what he was saying is people are tired of Democrats defending the system because, as I've often said, you know, the rule book is gone right now. And so they want an alternative for the pain that they are feeling. They want the pain to be acknowledged, but then they want an answer to their pain. When you look at Bernie, his answer is tax the rich, tax the rich. When you look at Obama, his plan was bipartisanship. Let's work together so that we all feel less pain. Trump's was Project 20.
They even rely heavily on audience coordination, booking seats carefully, and prompting reactions to keep the energy up. When a show becomes that costly while losing viewers and facing outside scrutiny, it's hard not to wonder how much longer it can last. The whole thing feels completely staged, like they're holding up signs that say laugh now or applaud to force reactions, even though they want viewers to believe it's all natural with a live studio audience. But the audience isn't really there to respond freely. They're coached and guided, which makes the show seem ridiculous both commercially and arguably from a regulatory standpoint. It just doesn't add up anymore. And with Bob Iger leaving, the situation becomes even tougher for The View because the executive rumored to replace him, the person running the parks, probably won't feel any special loyalty to the hosts or care about protecting that show. Without Iger as their key supporter, they could be facing a much harsher reality. More broadly, this points to a deeper issue. Disney, ABC, the entertainment world, and mainstream media overall are stuck in a rut and desperately need real reform. They talk endlessly about diversity, but in practice, everything feels the same. Everyone repeats the same ideas. Nobody takes creative risks. And it's become an endless cycle of sequels stacked on top of sequels. Maybe new leadership will finally shake things up, especially if someone from the park side steps in. But with the stock continuing to slide, the market clearly isn't convinced yet, and that uncertainty hangs over everything.